Hi, I'm Brina.
And I'm Dee Dee.
And we're Mighty Moms to Owen and Tad, who are both on the autism spectrum.
We're going to share real, honest content and experiences
About what it's like to be a mom of a kiddo on the autism spectrum.
Between the two of us,
There
is
is
nothing
nothing
we haven't experienced.
We don't hold back, and neither should you.
Here we go.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 13 of Mighty Moms Podcast. I'm Brina.
And I'm Dee Dee.
And we're here to pump you
up.
But today we have an extra special guest.
And she's
going to
pump us up too.
Yes, for sure. So we have a special guest today, which we're super excited about. It's been a long time in the making. We've wanted to have her on our podcast for a while now. And her name is Tammy Ezell. Hi, Tammy.
Hello.
Thanks, Tammy, for coming.
And Tammy comes to us from Durant Public Schools. She is a special education teacher for Durant Elementary School for how long?
Well, I've been at the DIS for 4 years, so I was at the high school before that for many years.
Oh, okay.
So
We'll
many
switch there.
years. So thank you for your service in the public school
Yes.
education, especially in the special education department. It takes a special person, I think, to
Yes.
do that. And so from two moms of kiddos on the autism spectrum, thank you so much for your service in the school district. And I know that we have lots of questions for you, but could you tell us a little bit about your family or anything that you would like to talk about? And of course, we've got questions for you too.
Ooh. Well, I didn't just come out of high school to teach special ed.
Sure.
I went to college, got my P degree, got my cosmetology degree, and
Oh,
I did all of
wow.
that for 2 years. I still have my license.
Good girl.
Oh, good. Okay,
Anyway,
good to know.
Yeah.
Note to self. Call Tammy for,
Well, at one point, it just became myself and my two little girls.
Okay.
And I just needed more. And
Sure.
I think y'all already know, my brother is special. So that's just been my life.
I was going to ask you about that. And so since you brought it up, so I happen to know that because as Dee Dee and I have talked about before on the podcast, I started the Owen Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization back in 2021, and Dee Dee serves on that board as well. And a board member and myself actually sought out your husband because he works for
emergency management.
emergency management for the city of Durant.
Yes.
And so we were working with him or seeing if we could work with them on emergency management training specifically for children with autism. And he was very helpful with us. So he happened to mention so I actually met your husband before I met you. I actually only met you for the first time like last week, but we've been Facebook friends for a while now. So because when I was friends with your husband, I said, he told us there during our meeting what you did and about your brother. And so I was like, I've got to be her friend. I looked her up immediately. And that was like a year ago or so. But so I know little about your brother, but he's an adult living with autism, right? And he's autistic. Is
It's
that
more
right?
than that.
Okay.
It's
Intellectual disabilities, but
in school, when he started school, it would be MR,
Okay,
which
sure.
the terminology today is
Has
ID.
changed, right.
But his diagnosis initially was arrested hydrocephalus.
Okay.
And then I know that's a big word, and I just didn't stumble.
You did
it. Is that fluid on the
Yes.
brain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, back then,
They didn't.
just happened. They didn't know.
Autism, too, was
Sure.
not even
no, and
the knowledge
that
of
did
it.
come later, but I'm going to guess in school.
Okay.
Sure.
So he was not labeled autistic
Right.
on his paperwork,
Right.
just
So-
MR.
Yeah.
So
what it
you
was.
grew up with a sibling who had challenges in everyday life, in school. You've just always been around it and aware
And
of
basically a
He's
caregiver.
just 4 years younger than me.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you were.
So that's when I was telling you I just had the two little girls, it was just me. I thought, you know what? I'm going to take a job in the school system, see what it's like. I got on as a para
Okay.
in the
Oh,
school I graduated
wow.
with, and I was like, this is all you got to do? Oh. I went back to school and finished up and got my
Because you
special
were used
education
to
degree.
it.
I
You
know.
Yeah,
were
you're
used
like,
to
this
being
is my
around it.
life.
What
You're
is
like,
this?
I have so much experience in this, so I can do this for a living.
I
Yeah.
felt like I did.
Yeah,
I felt
and
like
you
I
can
did.
change people's lives because it takes someone being in that role who has a
passion for it,
compassion
yeah.
and in like a personal experience with it. It takes that passion to a whole other
Oh,
level.
absolutely.
Because even if we didn't have our clinic, like if I see another child with autism or another autism parent, I'm just instantly
And you're
just
drawn to them.
empathetic
Yeah.
toward them, and I am drawn to them. Yeah. So what is it like? And we'll get on. We have a variety of questions
That's
to
all
ask you, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to skip a question. Just let me know you want to skip. That's fine too. But I'm just so curious because, like I have a son who's 8, and she has a son who's 16, and so we're curious, I guess, as they grow up, like what's that like when they're with you when you he's an adult and he stays with you guys, and does he do anything funny? I feel like Richard told me that a funny story, and I can't remember what it was now, but about him being very literal. I can't remember if he told me a funny story.
I wondered, like, so is he verbal, nonverbal? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
That's great.
yeah.
He's very verbal
Was
and
he
he's very
always
structured.
Was he always verbal? Like, I'm a
Very
mom.
Not like
structured.
me.
That's what it was.
See,
Very structured. Like
Routine.
he likes his routine.
Okay. On
the
I
clock.
remember
Yeah.
hearing that about him.
I just have to be honest with you. I guess I didn't know I had a special brother.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
wasn't like that for us. It just
That's
wasn't like
good.
that.
And that's a
just-
great
I
point
love
of
that.
view. Yes.
I love that.
I really don't. I mean, I know when I look at pictures of us growing up, I can see that he was.
Yeah.
But I'm
As
just
a
gonna
child.
tell you, we played like
Yes,
brother and
I
sisters
love
play.
that.
I played buck and bull and sent him right through a window.
Oh.
And I took him on bike rides and I about cut his foot off.
Oh.
And I just thought he was
That
like
was back in the
everybody
good
else.
old days when we
Yeah.
were
When we
able
played
to.
outside.
Yeah, when we played
But
outside.
Scott, his name is Scott, and I just have to throw in that when you have a mother like mine, there's nothing to learn.
Oh,
You treat them
wow.
like you're supposed to. You treat everybody the same. I
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
And I just never realized he was special
Yeah.
till I was,
That's amazing. I
old
love
enough to
that.
start figuring it all out.
Yeah.
I love that though. I love that.
Yeah, that's when we talk about, like, I post stuff about, and Tad doesn't have a sibling, but he has cousins that treat him like he's normal.
Yeah.
And I feel like siblings do the same thing, and that's why they take such an important role. And they take a lot of sacrifices that
They do.
you probably never realized that you did, because you might not have been going and doing things that normal families would do, or you might have to stay back because of your brother and his needs.
Well, I can tell you most families do that,
Y'all
but
didn't.
mine didn't.
That's good.
I love
My
that,
brother
that
goes
you
everywhere
didn't.
we go
Yeah.
to this day.
Yes.
Now, is it different? Yes.
Yeah.
But
But he's
do you
out.
know how much awareness that raises? though, when you-
Absolutely.
so I always think that when we decide that we're going to go sit down at a restaurant with Owen, I always think he's probably going to make some weird sounds, right, that you might expect from a baby, but he's doing it at 8. So that obviously is going to get weird looks. But something's going to register with, say, half the people here. Say there's 10 people here, and it kicks in with 5 of them. He's probably on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And then the more they see that in the
It
public,
becomes a normal
it becomes normal
thing.
because our family shouldn't, and we've talked about this on the show before, our family shouldn't have to hide at home.
No.
I think
We shouldn't have
visibility
to do
is very
that.
important
Yeah.
in these children's lives and getting them out and about.
It's
And
so important.
Absolutely. I love to hear that.
And we just had an instance yesterday at the clinic. So in our ABA facility, we have one-on-one therapy with the kids, but they're indoors all day. So we made it like mandatory. If the sun is out and it's a nice day, then they get to go on wagon rides, and they'll go a couple blocks to Opera House or around the corner to the Corner Crust. And so everybody within this 2-block radius, they know that's the Owen Academy kids. And yesterday they were on a walk to Opera House, and Under Sheriff Tucker, who I just learned who that is, works for the Bryan County Sheriff's Office, saw our kiddos, our whole crew, probably 6 or 7 of them, because so 3 kids were out that day with 4 therapists, and he passed them and he pulled in front of them and blocked traffic, did not turn on his sirens because he knew, but turned on his lights, and the kids were just, and he just stopped and got out and gave them high fives and gave them stickers, and then he turned to the staff and said, I just want y'all to know that we appreciate what you're doing for these kids in the community.
Isn't that great?
And that's so huge. I mean, but that only happens when there's awareness and us getting our families out there and getting our kids out there. That's what brings awareness to the people in the community. I love that.
Yeah,
and I
do
love that
too.
your mom was like that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
She's a one of a kind.
Sounds like it. That's awesome.
She's a very big advocate. So
Good.
That's
things-
awesome.
I'd like
Things
to
get
meet
done with
her.
people like her
I'd like to
around.
meet your mom.
Yeah.
well, I almost
would-
brought her because I was
You
like,
should
"Shut
have.
up.
We would have
I
loved
should.
it.
She's 83 and she lives with us too.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love
And,
that. I think I remember hearing that. I
it's-
love that.
it's
I would
something
love.
else.
Actually, we would love to meet somebody who went through it as a mom
Yeah.
like us, but years ago.
yes.
It would break your heart.
Oh.
Well, they didn't have that stuff back then.
Yeah.
I know
They
it.
just didn't have
The
knowledge
resources
that we have
and-
now, and the resources and the agencies and
You know, and to
didn't
your
have it.
to your
Yeah.
mom's credit too, because I hope she watches this. But like, I'm gonna get emotional talking about this. But when I first started reading about autism and the way they would diagnose kids and I'm not saying this is when your brother was born, but I think it was in the 50s and 60s. A lot of parents would send their children to mental institutions, their babies.
For life.
And I just think about people like your mom who chose a completely different path and had no medical data to go on. She couldn't just hop on a device in her hand and research stuff.
Right.
I mean, that's incredible to me. So kudos to your mom, because that is just,
Yeah, because I'm sure they probably did recommend that for your brother.
well, if they did, I can't. I don't know. I just
I'm sure
know
she
that
was like,
it would
"Nope."
have never been an option.
no. And
Ever.
I can't imagine it ever having been an option. I met a lady 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was actually, I was opening an account for the Owen Foundation at a bank. And the lady who was opening it for me said, my brother was diagnosed when we were children, when he was a toddler. And I said, I'm sorry, that must have been hard because the resources were, because he was in
Older.
his 60s or 70s at that time. And she said that her parents that had sent him to an institution, and then her mom and dad got a divorce because her dad was the one who wanted it, and her mom took the kid out of the institution and raised him. And I said, I think I would have had to do the same thing, because I would never do that. As a mother, you just can't imagine doing that. And I know that there probably was a time where people didn't feel like they had a choice. But it sounds like your mom is a really strong woman who was like, no, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And
this
we're
is
gonna
my
do it.
child, and
Yeah.
I can say what happened.
And it sounds like she did an amazing job at that, too.
She did.
So.
She did. I can't get too emotional there.
Oh.
I know, I will.
I know.
Don't you? Because then I will.
She raised 2 completely different children and never missed a beat. So I'll just kudos to you, Mom.
So, having grown up with your brother that way, and then having the career that you have in special education, have you noticed in the last 3 or 4 years that there's just a ton more chatter about autism in the community? Have you noticed that through what Mighty Moms is doing, what the Owen Foundation is doing, and just, I think then it just kind of catches on fire. We hope that you have. I just, I'm hoping, I feel like, and I don't know if it's just because, my son was diagnosed 5 years ago and it's just kind of become my world, but I feel like there's every day I'm just seeing more and more resources, awareness, stories being shared, just things that are being done that are proactive for the autism community. And I hope that's how everybody feels in Durant too.
Well, there is more chatter. I can just tell you that there just seems to be more and more students being diagnosed.
Yeah.
And so the more resources teachers have to help, the better, because it's either it hasn't been known. You know, and I know there's different levels, and I know that of it. Just like as a teacher, they told my mother Scott would never grow to be a man. He would never probably talk. He would just never be really able to do anything. And most of my really great stories that impacted me came from my mother and what happened through Scott. And I'll never forget, Stella Moore called my mother and said, could you come up here and I want to show you something with Scott. My mother goes up there.
Was she a teacher?
Stella Moore?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. That's someone.
We need to know about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
she called my mother. She came up there, and they came in the classroom, and she handed Scott a book. And he read to my mother.
For the first time.
For the first time. And not only did he read to my mother, he started laughing because it was a funny book, and he understood.
So
Yeah.
not
what
only was he able to read,
he
he
could retain it.
cognitively
Yeah.
understood what
It's
was
just
happening.
so many things can be opened up if you're patient enough, and you
I
just
love
search it out,
that.
and you just never give
I
up.
love that. How old was he when that happened?
Elementary, like I'm thinking 3rd or 4th grade.
I love that.
My brother can read at a 5th grade level.
I love that.
So
That's
all we
awesome.
need right there.
Yeah.
If we can read at a fifth
Yeah.
grade level, we're good.
and he can do that.
I feel that because my son's nonverbal. He doesn't speak, has never really said any words. And so even as a mom, in my mind, I thought, and I'm guilty of it. I hate that I even thought that he couldn't read, he couldn't write, he could never. And my mom is a retired teacher, and she started really working with him at by the time he was in 1st grade, she started really working with him, and she was like, "Dee, he can read," because I always showed educational videos, scholastic books, read to him, and even though hoping he retained something, and I just didn't know how to get it out of him, I guess.
Right.
But my mom was like, "Oh, I got this," and I was like, in my mind, I still was like, yeah, whatever. Like in my mind,
Right.
it's horrible.
No.
But she was like, he's going to read this paragraph about science, and he's going to answer the questions multiple choice. And he looked at it, and I watched his eyes, and they were so fast. I was like, and then she said, question number 1, and she said, point to the answer, and it was correct. Question number 3, and that's to this day how she teaches him he can read.
And how you know.
And how I know he's retaining it. And it's amazing. It's amazing that I just want parents to understand that if they're nonverbal and you're told they can't do that, absolutely do not put that on them, because they can, the sky's the limit for them.
That is.
And so I'm sure that's why, so as a teacher, I love that you have that, I don't know, like motivation.
Well,
and
she's taken all these personal experiences that have happened
that's
to her.
what makes you so.
I would love for Owen to be in the classroom with you. That'd be amazing.
I treat those kids the way my mom told me to, not how the college told me to.
Yes.
I go in there with the thought that is my kid, my own son or daughter,
Yes.
and what can I teach that kid that'll help me at home? What can I teach that kid that'll help them when they're on the playground, or, well, it depends on what age they are.
Sure.
Or when they get older and different things too. What can I teach them? And humor works with me.
Yeah.
All my
Yeah.
kids.
Oh, sure.
That's just how
Yeah.
it is with me. And I talk to them just like I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
I don't.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I talk to them just like I talk to
And they
you.
understand so much more than we give them credit for. I know my son does. And so we're really starting to learn that. He's 8, and we're going from that, okay, and he was always tiny, and so now he's kind of bigger. And so as he's aging, we're like, okay, he's not a baby anymore, and he's understanding what we're saying. And sometimes he's understanding that he's being ornery too.
Mm-hmm.
He knows.
Yeah.
And we do want to talk to you more about the school setting too, as soon as we hear a word from our sponsors.
Blackburn Plumbing and Air provides high-quality plumbing, heating, and air conditioning services in Durant, McAllister, and throughout the Texoma region. With a proven track record for getting exceptional results, they're ready to take on even the most challenging plumbing and HVAC issues. Blackburn offers professional services and long-lasting results that are second to none. Give Blackburn a call at 580-775-1779 for all your plumbing and HVAC needs.
Has your Texoma area kiddo recently been diagnosed with autism? You received an order for ABA therapy, but have no idea what ABA therapy is or where to enroll your child to receive ABA therapy? Well, look no further than the Owen Academy. TOA was opened in early 2024 and is owned by a local autism mom who has previous business experience in opening varying categories of clinics in Texas and Oklahoma. But most importantly, she has real-world experience navigating life as an autism mom. The Owen Academy has gone above and beyond to create a beautiful and imaginative environment in their now 2 clinic locations in Durant, Oklahoma, to ensure that their therapy techniques are always child-led and play-based. The Owen Academy is proudly serving many families in Bryan, Atoka, Grayson, and Marshall counties with a goal to always expand when and where there is a need. In addition to their warm and inviting therapy clinics, the Owen Academy has gone the extra mile to ensure the qualifications, compassion, heart, and stamina of their board-certified behavioral analysts and registered behavior technicians. At TOA, we are a family. We would love for you to join us and help us continue to create awareness and compassion for individuals with autism in our community. If you're looking for a career in autism therapy or looking to enroll your child in our therapy services, email us today at info@theowenacademy.com or call 580-706-OWEN. That's 580-706-6936. The Owen Academy, where possibilities are limitless. Listen, my carpets used to be a struggle to keep clean. Between 2 boys and 2 fur babies, I was always cleaning up spills and stains. Then I found Ray at ChemDry, and basically I've had him on speed dial ever since. So when you need your carpets, furniture, or even hardwood floors cleaned, call or even text ChemDry at 903-815-5811. Ray will get you all cleaned up.
Bushwhackers Land Clearing and Brush Grinding Services provide cost-effective land clearing and brush grinding services in Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, and the surrounding areas. Their environmentally conscious approach keeps soil disturbance to a minimum and can clear without leaving brush piles to burn. They provide commercial land clearing, farm, ranch, pasture clearing, and ROW and pipeline clearing. For all your land clearing needs, call or text Jerry at 580-920-5039 to get your estimates today.
Ladies, let me tell you about my personal experience with Plumped Injectables and Beauty Bar in Durant. Yes, I get Botox like clockwork every 4 months. There's no shame in it for me. I love that I've been able to watch my forehead lines and crow's feet disappear over the last year, and I can't imagine now ever not getting Botox from Randy and her girls at Plumped. Their location here in Durant has such a serene and peaceful vibe. As soon as you walk in the door, you're greeted with a sweet hello and the scent of their very own signature diffuser oil. From Botox, lip flips, and microfacials to lash and eyebrow tinting, hydrating facials, body sculpting and waxing, and so much more. Plumped has all of your top-tier beauty essentials covered. Get your Plumped on by calling 580-634-2852 or emailing plumpedbeautybar@gmail.com. Visit plumpedbeauty.com to see their comprehensive list of services and see what the buzz is all about. Founded, owned, and operated by nurses, Angels of Care Pediatric Home Health's clients are at the heart of everything they do. Proudly serving the medically fragile community since 2000, Angels of Care offers private duty nursing services, speech, physical, and occupational therapies, and respite care across the nation. We are also happy to announce we have started offering ABA services in Colorado. Please visit angelsofcare.com or call 855-45-ANGEL for more information. Get your halos on.
If you've been in an automobile accident or have vehicle damage, S&L Collision Center is the body shop to call for all your auto body repair needs. Larry Hallmark and family have been in business for many years. They are honest and do exceptional work. I have had all of my vehicles repaired by them and have always been satisfied with their work. So if you're in the need for auto body repair, call S&L Collision Center at 580-924-5958.
All right, we're back now with Tammy Ezell from Durant Public Schools, a special education teacher for the elementary school here in Durant, and also has an adult brother who lives with her who has autism as well. And we were just talking about, we had some questions for you about working with children in the school, and I know that every teacher's viewpoint is different. We were saying how we love it that you have that personal connection because you have that personal story about your brother, and so it just seems so much more meaningful. And I know that we had wanted to ask you, how does teaching special needs children affect you personally?
So, I took a few notes.
Okay, good.
I feel like that I always tell people, when I go home, I can just leave my work. But I don't.
No.
But I don't, because in my brain, I might see something. I'm like, that's
That
what
can
I
help.
need for
That
so-and-so.
yeah.
So-and-so would love
Or I'm
this.
at the store. Oh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like I'm always searching, and I don't even know that. Mm-hmm. But I'm always searching.
Mm-hmm. You think that you're going home to relax, but and it's not that it's not relaxing, but they are always on your mind.
Oh, yeah.
And your
I just
heart.
know
You
that.
can't help it. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't help it. I feel like I don't want to say I'm challenged.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very challenged because let's just for an example,
Yeah.
an everyday. Here's my classroom. 3 autistic. One has several disabilities, not just that, and then you have your regular couple of kids that are ID and one kid that probably shouldn't be in there, but he is.
Yes.
And we need to have him tested. And, I'm working with all of them at the same time.
Yes, and that has to be challenging.
Very challenging for me, I have to get to know the kid. And I know this is going to sound bad, but once I know their quirks,
Yeah.
Yep.
we're on it.
That's right.
We know exactly
I
what we
love
can do,
that.
and I know what I can say. I know what this parent's going to do. I know what that parent's going to do, and I know when.
Yeah.
Good.
And
So you
I love
use
that.
their as a high motivator. You use what they like to get
once
anything.
I spend the first few weeks figuring them out.
Yeah, I love
We're
it.
just figuring it out, and
Yeah.
them figuring me out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same thing.
And I will say this about my son, and it's probably true about most kids on the spectrum. When they meet somebody new, they test the limits.
Oh yeah.
Okay. When he gets a new therapist at ABA therapy, he tests the limits. What can I get away with
Yeah.
with her?
And
What
isn't
can
that
I
just as
do?
normal as
Yes.
it is?
Yes, and that's what I always
Exactly.
say. That is such a neurotypical quality. And I love it when you see those things shine through because you can literally say they're just a kid.
Yeah.
That's totally normal. You
I
know?
was going to say,
Yeah.
it is.
What do you feel like, and I know that you've had a lot of positive experiences, just because we have so many moms who come to us. We do a Mighty Moms coffee break once a month on a Saturday, and we have a group of moms who come and we talk about, it's all autism moms, so I mean, we talk about everything.
Good, the bad,
And
the
we
nasty,
hear
the ugly.
we hear funny stories, we hear sad stories, we hear about milestones being reached, we hear about regression, all the things. But in teaching in a school district, what are some of the things that you have found, and maybe a specific instance where you found of something that's been a difficult moment in teaching, or something that just, I mean, because it can't be all rainbows and butterflies, and that's great that you've had all those amazing moments. And I only ask this because I know that we have so many moms who come to us, and you've heard this, and not with your school or any specific school, but just frustration about their IEPs, about their kid not getting the individualized attention
Education
that they
plan.
need, and that's got to be so hard. And I see it from both angles too. I mean, is that something that you run into, like not having the resources that you need, or is that ever an issue?
What I run into a lot are that my parents are special.
Okay.
And it might not be a lot, but it is to a certain extent.
Sure.
And so they don't know.
Okay.
And unless you advocate for those students, nothing's going to happen.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not being ugly.
No,
That's
no.
just how it is. So to me, that's my job.
Yeah.
I advocate for that kid when their parent
Thank goodness that you
cannot.
do that, though.
But I have to tell you, more times than not, my school, if I ask for something, will give it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been blessed.
You have
I'm just going to
been.
tell you.
Sure.
I love what I do, and is it challenging, and do I feel like a failure sometimes? I do. But then something will happen the next day that I'm like, oh my gosh, what in the world was I thinking?
Yeah.
But these kids teach me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't do it. I mean,
Yeah.
they see, let me just go back to Scott. He doesn't see wrong.
So
Yes.
innocent.
He,
The innocence.
he is, and he's everything everybody should be.
Yes.
He just
They don't know.
goes about it differently.
I feel like
So-
Owen and Tad are like that too. So, and every child that I've encountered on the spectrum, especially the ones who are here in the clinic, they're just so innocent, and they don't know. We were making a joke today because Owen loves to not have clothes on, but he's getting to the age where, baby, you got to wear clothes because you just can't run around naked all the time. So he'll want to come out of the bathroom completely undressed and bouncing his basketball. I mean, just this 8-year-old complete, And so for client dignity, we have to say, and I can tell this story about my son because he is my son, but for client dignity and to teach him, we have to tell him, but that just goes to show how they have no awareness of right or wrong. There's no, they don't know to be competitive. They don't know to be,
Jealous.
Anything.
Jealousy is not in their heart. And there is something so pure about that. There's something so pure about, and that's such a rewarding story to me. I love that.
That made me think of one thing I asked my mother before I came.
Okay.
Mom,
I wish Mom would have came.
I s-
Mom, you're coming on the podcast next time.
Yay!
Get on our calendar.
I promise you would learn so much.
Oh, I love it.
I'm sure we would.
My mother retired from DHS, Department of
Okay.
Human Services.
Okay.
So she knows a lot.
Yes.
But the one thing I asked her, you asked me, was what would make this world a better place
Yes.
for our special needs children and our special needs
Adults,
population.
Yes.
She said, without skipping a beat, acceptance.
Yeah.
Acceptance.
And I just looked at her and she said, so many kids don't know how to treat our special population in school. Now that comes from experience with Scott.
Yeah.
And she goes, but a lot of adults don't know.
They don't.
They don't.
And I'm just going to throw in, and I'm just, it's there. There's a lot of teachers
That don't.
know either.
Oh,
I know
man.
that from a personal
So,
experience.
but I have to know that of all the things I understand, I don't understand how you can accept that in any way, whoever you are, kid or not. And so my biggest thing is to advocate for them and to educate, educate, you know.
Yes.
I have to tell you, well, you brought up the IEP, and the one thing I want to say about that is we have to give a set of parents' rights at every single meeting, no matter how many you have.
Yeah.
And if they would just look on that last page.
Look on it. Look on
There
the
are
last
so
page of the
many
IEP.
resources.
Yes.
Parents' rights.
Phone
There
numbers,
are resources.
everything.
Yes.
And I just can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
Your kid isn't like this kid, and it's not like that kid, and there is something there for you, for them.
I always
So-
wonder. My son now is, of course, homeschooled, but up until COVID, he did attend a public school. And going to those IEP meetings, like, it was a dreadful moment for me. But I had a list. I was prepared. My mom went with me as an advocate for me, and it was they worked so well with us. But every one of our IEP meetings, they would say, "I just love the support you have for your child." And that when you said, "My parents are special, and I have to advocate even for my parents for the child," I get it now. Now I understand why they always would say that. They did not see that. Not that we're just holier than thou and know it all, but they just don't know.
Advocate for your
Yeah,
children.
they
though.
just don't
like,
know
advocate
how.
for your children.
And maybe that's something we need to look into.
Work
Like,
on,
well, at our
yeah.
conference, we're having a conference in June, June 22nd.
Second.
And that's one thing that we need to add to our topic is how to advocate
Maybe
for your
you need
child
to come be a speaker.
in the school
Woo.
system.
Maybe we should have her. come
Could
be a
you do
speaker.
that?
Could you do that? Let's ask her right on the
I'm
spot.
not on the spot.
Tammy, would you be willing to come speak at our conference and
Yes, I would.
specifically
oh,
talk
yay! We
about
can add her to our list of keynote speakers.
advocating for your child in the school system?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's not
Put it down.
that's
I
not
got
hard
We
at
have,
all.
we have it recorded now.
I got it in my brain.
Okay, that's exciting.
It's just very
Yeah.
important.
It
No, it's
is,
just
and
important.
it's needed.
I've had the parents that came in that scared me half to death because they probably knew the law better than I did.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And we need to, and we have to know
That's-
it so that
and
we can
if you don't
advocate.
know-
I messaged somebody that I know today who works in the public school system in the special education department, and she is a wealth of knowledge to me and a friend and a board member on the Owen Foundation. I messaged her a very probably tricky question today, but I mean, we are always looking at all the angles, you know, like how can we get that acceptance
Yeah.
and that education for our child, even though their education plan looks different than all the other kids in their class.
Yeah, and there's so many resources too online because I follow a lady, and I don't remember her name, but she's a doctor of law, and she takes questions like on TikTok questions. Have you seen her? But she knows the special education law, and she will answer the question from any parent that does a comment.
Wow.
She gets to it. And I'm just that was not available when I was going through all that. This
It
is
certainly
all,
wasn't available for your mother.
this
No, it
is all
wasn't.
new, and that's just another awareness, advocating how to, that's just another. You can get everything online now. Just take the time
if
to.
you have a phone, if
Yeah.
you have a laptop,
Yeah.
if you can read,
Yeah, that's true.
if you don't have
But you don't
those
even,
resources,
yeah,
then
that's true.
we've got to provide those.
Yeah,
But thank goodness for anyone in Durant Public Schools in the elementary that you're there for them
Yes.
doing that, because I will say it's not like that everywhere. And
No.
I know that we actually entirely moved our home. We sold our home and moved 3 minutes away from a school that we wanted Owen to go to, so that we could be, and we never went, the house that we were in before, we planned on being there forever, but that all changed whenever the needs for our son changed. And so it's I'm not saying that it's few and far between to have people like you, but in my experience, it kind of feels like it is.
When we
And
have
so-
I have a special ed director that, I don't know if I can say her name on here. She,
If you're talking good about her, I'm sure it's fine.
well, her
Yeah.
name is Lori McCoy.
Okay.
And she was a special education teacher before she became our special director. So
Okay.
I'm just telling you,
She gets it.
Yes, she gets
Good.
it. And so, like, I've always been, I just come from where you just didn't ask for a lot because it was always
There
about
was
money.
never- yeah.
You know what? I don't know what's wrong with me because I haven't asked for a whole lot, but what I've asked for, I don't believe
gotten it?
they've ever said no to me.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So if you have a
And she's the
student that
special
needs it-
education director, sorry, over the
yes,
whole
for,
school?
Oh, for the whole district.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So it's a huge job.
Oh,
Oh,
I can't
I can't
imagine.
imagine.
I
That's
can't
what I was going to
imagine.
ask you. How many? So, is there a special education teacher at each school in Durant?
There's more than one.
There's more than one.
At each
yes.
school.
Well,
and so,
you
but
had
you just
your-
have a certain set of kids that you
that I work with all day.
work with. Okay. And then there are other ones who have their set of kids.
Yes.
Okay.
So, you start with your ID kids and your LD kids, your mainstream kids.
Okay.
Okay.
And then kids that might be on an IEP, but they're, they're in regular classes.
And so, say, how many kids do you have in your class?
Well,
Ish.
I had
Including the
7
one that
in the
goes in.
class, but I had one in a couple other places because it was a safety thing.
When you
Okay.
say 7 in the class, they're in a regular classroom setting, but they have IEPs?
No, they're in.
They're
my
in
They're
my
in
class.
your
class.
class.
They're in
And
a
so-
special education classroom.
Because your elementary is it kindergarten through 4th? Kindergarten
Yes,
through,
and
okay.
I'm at the 5th and 6th grade center.
Okay.
So K
so
through-
you're
all your
intermediate,
classes
intermediate.
are, all the kids in your class are either 5th or 6th grade.
Right. Well, this last year they separate them. I just had 6.
Okay.
So that made it
do
easier.
you happen to know when, and I'm asking for personal reasons because where my son goes to elementary school, it's kindergarten through 4th, and he has a certain teacher, and there are other teachers, but his certain teacher at that school district has, say, 8 kids in her class, but they can range anywhere from kindergarten to 4th grade, but of course each one of them has their own IEP. And they also have one-to-one, almost
Paras.
one-to-one paras for almost every kid in the class. He has a one-to-one when he's there.
Yes.
Is that typical, or is that how they do it there, or is there a special education teacher for each grade?
Each grade.
Okay.
Wow.
But
Okay.
if there's a need for a one-on-one, then they'll have one.
Okay.
Just make sure it's in the IEP.
Yeah.
Make sure it's in the IEP.
Yeah.
I mean, that IEP is what you do. If it states they need this, then that's what they're going to get.
Okay.
The only place like that would be the high school
Okay.
when it's like the ID, because I was there. That was the ID classroom. I had 9th through 12th,
Okay.
all 4
Okay.
grades, all 4 core subjects.
Okay. Now, so say if when he moved from kindergarten to 1st, so he would still work on his specific grade curriculum, but he would still be in that class, and in that class there could be a 4th grader in there, and there could be a kindergartner in there, as long as they were all able to work together, if that makes sense.
Are you talking about here?
It's in Denison. It's okay. It's in
I'm just
Denison.
confused.
And we
Okay.
loved, and I will say this, and I'll say it because we loved, and I say loved because he went to kindergarten. We got an exception to be within that school district upon request. The next year when we went to enroll him, they had such a huge fluctuation of people who had moved to that area that we didn't get the exception. Even trying to name drop.
Yep.
We did not get the exception. And they said, we're sorry, but like our hands are literally tied. If he were to live in our district, we'd have no choice but
Have
to
to take
accept
him.
him. So we said, okay, we'll move. Because we had such a great experience with our teacher there. And I'll go ahead and say her name too, in case she's listening, Natalie Idell, and you know her.
Yeah, she's in our Light of Mind ministry.
Because Dee Dee has
At
Light of
church.
Mind Ministries at Durant First Baptist, and
The
she
special
volunteers
education-
there.
And I've meant to ask you about that. I started to change the subject.
That's okay.
but-
No, That's okay.
Fusion, I believe, is getting a special
Yes, we are.
education
I
ministry.
love that.
Yes, we are.
Yes,
Are
we
you heading it up?
No.
I was going to say, Dee Dee can help with
No,
that.
that's what
I have not been asked.
Oh, no.
I know.
Okay.
That's the first thought
It's
when I
there.
was told that this
It's in
Sunday.
the planning.
I said, "Oh, is Tammy doing it?" They're like, "I asked her and she said no."
That's funny.
That's their loss. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
It is.
It's
Lots of
needed
things, lots
at
of changes.
Every
And that goes
church
back to what
needs
we were
that.
talking about. It seems like there's just more chatter about it. There's just such a need for it. And I know you were talking about kids getting diagnosed and a lot of people, and I'm sorry, uneducated people who think that they're getting diagnosed because parents are just wanting to slap a label on their behaviors, and that's not the case. There are more kids getting diagnosed because there is more
Awareness.
scientific research.
And
There's
awareness.
more awareness. Doctors are being more proactive in understanding those behaviors. It's science. They're not getting diagnosed now because parents are being lazy. Because I can promise you, we did not want to slap an autism diagnosis on our son who's 8 and nonverbal. He's not nonverbal because he's acting out, right?
Right.
So it's just like you said, there's more education and more awareness, and that's a good thing. And because those kids are getting diagnosed, there's a need for things like that at churches, or, more IEP,
Advocacy or-
advocacy in the school systems and things like that. So that's a good thing. But anyway,
And when
Natalie Idell's an
years and
amazing
years
teacher.
Ago, there was no ABA.
No.
There was nothing.
You might find it in Dallas or, bigger cities, but there would be like maybe 1 or 2 clinics.
Well, Tad's
Now-
16. They didn't have that for us. When we first realized that they didn't even, that autism was a big. It was still hard. I had to read books to find, information.
I
It
haven't-
wasn't just out
Readily
Haven't met your
available.
children, and both of you say they're nonverbal. Can I just ask? They don't speak at all. Like they don't say any words at all. They just make
Owen makes
sounds.
a lot
Sounds.
of noises.
sounds.
Never ever spoke.
No, Owen did speak when he was a baby. He developed completely normally up until 18 months old. And then he lost his verbiage. He lost his eye contact. He started doing self-injurious behaviors, injuring us, lots of acting out, that at that time we thought he needs reprimanded, and that made it worse. We could not say the word no around him, and anybody who's listening to this who doesn't have a personal experience with autism, especially in southeastern Oklahoma, is going to go, he needs his butt whipped.
Yeah, I hate that.
Okay, it wasn't that. It still isn't that. And you can't whip the autism out of a child. And I'm not anti-spanking, but whipping a child with autism or spanking them is only going to make their behaviors worse, because they are not neurotypical. They are wired differently, and it, in their mind and in their eyes, it is not a misbehavior. They are usually responding to a sensory overload, and they don't know what to do. They haven't. So with ABA and with a good teacher like you have with Tammy, they can learn ways to not really control their emotions, but just direct them in the right way, and also to soothe those sensory overload issues that they might
We had a
have.
student in my first job in Durant was at the original George Washington.
Oh, wow.
And had a little autistic boy, and he's a grown man now.
I love that.
He's not very old, but he's a grown man, and he didn't talk. He made noise, and he would kick and hit and scratch and everything else. And
That's my Owen right now.
we had a really, went through 5 101s. The year wasn't even over. I just didn't get to talk to the parents, so that's all I can tell you. But I know that I went to a ball game about a year ago, and the dad came up to me and said, "Look who's here!" And I turned around, and he spoke to me.
Oh,
He did?
Now,
and how
his
old was
voice
he
was
when he
different.
wasn't speaking to you?
That would have been
Was he like
Third
5 or
grade.
10 or
third
grade.
That would have been
9
second
or
or
10.
third grade.
Okay.
So
9?
9, maybe.
That's Owen's 8 right
and
now.
I'm not saying anything.
Sure.
I'm just saying
In your experience,
I
yeah.
was Why would I be like that? You know, why would I be like,
Yeah.
because he decided to talk when he was ready.
Yes.
He decided when he was ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, to me, when you talk about how they're wired, that's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a student that's doesn't realize how big he is and how
Yes.
strong he is.
Yes.
And we work one-on-one, and I have a para.
Yes.
And you can say nonverbal, but I know he can talk.
Yeah.
And he can be very rough. And the other day, it was his task. It was his turn to pick his task. And so he did, and he was doing his thing. And I had my phone out, and I was showing the para this person that I follow that's a speaker.
Uh-huh.
And this student looked at me and said, "What are you looking at?" and I went,
You want to see?
I did that. My mouth fell open, but I went, well, I just turned over there, and I started talking to him like I was talking to the para, and he just goes,
And went
back
back
to his task, and I just
Yeah.
went,
Yeah.
I'm
Did
telling
you
the
hear
para,
that, or is it just me?
Did you
Yeah.
record that? We missed it. I mean, he talked just like this.
I love that.
There was no.
I know.
Yeah.
I have
Anything
hopes
else?
to hear Tad say, "Alexa, play Hillbilly Bone" or whatever.
Because Tad loves country music.
He loves music. We plays all day at my house, and I'll say he loves rap. He loves every kind of music, and I'll say,
Oh,
Tad,
he's into, because I thought he
Tad,
was
play
just
Beyonce.
into country, but
no,
now
he
he's
likes Beyonce, but it is country,
Okay.
her country.
Yeah.
Supposedly country album.
Yes.
But I mean, he's 16, and I'm
wanna
never
hear him,
giving up
yeah,
hope.
no.
And I know Tad has a genetic disorder that causes him to be nonverbal, have autistic tendencies. And we just found that out last year. And
then we did it
at
too.
that
And mine
time-
was Owen's. I don't understand it the way, but I sent you our results, didn't I? Owen's was different from Tad's, wasn't
Oh,
it?
does he have? I didn't see it.
The one about that I went to the lady in Sherman
Yeah,
for?
but I had. Oh no, you're talking about
the swab.
methylation and all that. This is actually a genetic deletion that he has
Oh,
in
okay.
his DNA, and it's a 2x2 deletion, which is very rare. But the reason why we even found that out was because he started having seizures.
I need to get that testing
And so
done.
they did
I'm
an
gonna text you.
epilepsy panel, and it was one that was under it, and it explained everything about his life. But when I read that, I mourned because it's like I had hope that he would talk, and then I had to slap myself around and be like, no, he still can. This does not describe him. And I still have faith, and I still have hope that I will hear him talk.
Yeah.
And I have heard him say things like "sorry," like if he soiled his pants, he doesn't. When he was younger, he would say "sorry."
And he knew when to say it. It was
Yeah,
in context.
it was, and so I have heard things out of him, and Mike and I will both be like, "Did you just hear that?" We do that a lot, and I'm like, "Are we wanting to hear that, or is that what we're hearing?" We
Yeah.
question ourselves, but I'm like, "No, we heard it. We're gonna believe that we heard it."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I don't want parents to give up hope, like you said,
Yeah.
because you can turn around and see a child that was nonverbal and they're speaking to you.
And so
I'm
he
like-
was like 18 or something when you.
I think he was in his 20s.
Okay.
I'm
Wow.
gonna say that.
I love that.
I love to hear
that.
stories about that. Like,
Well-
I always am craving.
You have
To
to
hear.
keep searching
Yeah.
for those strategies and those methods
Yeah.
and those.
It's about entering their world.
Yeah.
Not trying to force them into ours. It's about getting on their level and entering their world. I know that from a mother perspective, and I'm sure that it's the same from an educational perspective too. Well, Tammy, thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
And y'all
We're
will be able
so
to
happy.
see her at the conference in June.
Yes.
We're having an
So-
autism conference.
So June 22nd,
1 to 4.
it's on a Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m.
You can still register at
Yes.
eventbrite.com or
if you go
see
to our
socials.
Facebook page, right? There will be all the information on there. That's the best way to see it.
Yeah, and it's $20 per participant, and we do have scholarships if you are
Not
wanting
able to pay for
needing
them.
some help with funding.
We have speakers from, now that we're talking about it, we have speakers from, well, Tammy Ezell within the education department at Durant Public Schools. And then we have a few board certified behavior analysts who are coming to speak about ABA therapy and the benefits of that and how you can implement some ABA techniques at home. We have, help me out here, my brain is.
We're going to have a swim
Yes,
safety.
Texoma Swim Academy.
Yeah.
Christy Baca is going to
She's gonna
join us.
come.
We also have Stacy Anderson from Center for Psychological Development here in Durant and Denison. They do autism diagnosing among some other things, and so he's going to come speak. Really excited about that. Jake Estes with Estes Law is going to come speak about future planning for parents or caregivers of children who have special needs and disabilities.
Fill out the forms.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And we have a whole slew of people. Oh, and also we've got somebody from People First Industries coming
Yes.
to talk about their. I know, no,
Scott
it's okay.
works there.
Oh, he does.
Yes, he does. And he loves it.
Maybe
Oh.
he can volunteer to be at their table that
Yeah, their
day.
booth.
So this event is going to be just right next door. The Owen Academy, our ABA clinic, is renting a space that's 1,500 square feet next door because we need the overflow space for our wait list and for kids to go burn off some energy. So we're going to have like gymnastics setting type things in there for them
Sensory
to do
room.
a sensory type things that they can enjoy while doing their therapy. And so we take that over in July. So before we move any of that fun stuff in there, we're going to use that 1,500 square foot area for this event. And so everybody who's coming to speak will have a table set up with information about their company. So it's going to be great. We're really excited. Someone's playing a tuba in the alley next, which is amazing.
Also, childcare is available through the Owen
Yes.
Academy.
So-
the Owen Academy for providing that.
So when you go on our Facebook page and you see our post about the conference, you will see the Eventbrite link where you can purchase your ticket, which you need to do now because we need to know how many people are coming and how many people we need to prepare for. You can also email the Owen Academy. It's me, actually. Didn't I put my personal
Brina
email?
at
So it's Brina,
theowenacademy.com.
Brina, at theowenacademy.com if you need childcare for that event, and the childcare is free. So $20 is really your ticket, and you get your childcare free. That's a really great deal. You're going to get a lot of information. It's our first conference. We're hoping to do this every year and just bring as many resources as we can to one place at one time for our autism community. And with that, we will see you next time. And again, Tammy, thank you for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
All right,
Bye, guys.
Thank you. Okay, Mighty Moms, we're signing off.
Connect with us on our Mighty Moms socials, submit your topic ideas, and share it all.
Follow us at Mighty Moms Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Also, visit our website at mightymomspodcast.com. And remember,
Together,
we are a worldwide cult of Mighty Moms. I'm not going to look at y'all. I'm going to do it over here. You will. It's funny, isn't it? Okay.